Hello, everyone. Today I'm going to be talking about the God Hates Your Feelings, Neutralizing Emotional Deviance within the Westboro Baptist Church article first for my love outline. And so, growing up in an extremely religious family, I used to contemplate about the psychology of Christianity a lot. I wondered how being in a group setting for worship service would be different than if you were alone. And how offering is usually after this emotional experience, and this this experience has an impact on what language that members take out of a pastor's sermon. Whenever I have to go to church, I think about how people act differently as a group and how this impacts your emotions during worship service, as well as how being part of a group can lead to a change in your beliefs. I've read a lot about the different things that people of the Westboro Baptist Church did, and I hope that this article will explain how people rationalize their behavior as serving God. I enjoyed how the authors used data, observations, and interviews to analyze how the Westboro Baptist Church uses emotions to generate controversy and social change. The authors, Todd and Melissa Powell Williams, reiterate how WBC teaches their members to scare the public into conforming because God hates. The WBC generated a lot of controversy by taking an extremely opposite position than most churches. Todd and Melissa Powell Williams made the argument that these people neutralize their emotional deviance by saying that other people deserve the harm that they brought on themselves, that no one was physically harmed, and that their loyalty to God leads them to behave in this way. This article gave me much more insight into how religious people reframe God's love to fit their narrative and how they use emotional rules to maintain group cohesion. An example from my own life is how I was raised in the church, and I was forced to go every Sunday. I literally remember having to come home from people's sleepovers just to go to church, and I thought it was so stupid. And I remember hearing a lot about how God loves everyone, while specifically my granny, pastor's wife, she was, talking about how if you're gay, you're going to go to hell, and how God hates gays because it's sinful and this, that, and the other. And so whenever I was 13, I just remember sobbing to my mom after church one day. I was like, why would God make me gay if it's a sin? What if he's real and I'm going to go to hell? Because I talked to her about not actually being religious and everything. And I don't know. I just remember being so afraid of going to hell, and this fear did not have a good impact on my psyche at all, right? And so my mom talked me through it, and she told me that God would love me no matter what. And of course, I only came out to one person at my church because I was afraid of the social sanctions of it, because the people that I loved would not love me anymore, though they claimed to love everyone equally. And so for my second article, I'm doing Bach's, I think his name is Bach, Practicing Neighbor Love, Empathy, Religion, and Clinical Ethics. When I think about love and medical ethics, I think about the medical code of ethics, where you're supposed to save someone's life no matter your feelings about them. I remember the story of a woman who was reluctant to treat a man with Nazi tattoos, but she did the right thing and saved his life. I know that people who work in hospitals do it for the love that they have for humanity and serving others, but people can't openly discuss their religion. I think about love in individual people instead of coming explicitly from an institution. And I feel that love is what motivates individuals to form institutions. This article explains how loving your neighbor and allowing your beliefs to have an influence in your intention as an ethical consultant makes patients feel more understood and trusting, especially if they have the same values as yourself. The author goes on to explain different forms of empathy and uses Hojet's, I think, definition of cognitive empathy in the clinical setting to help patients feel understood, communicate their understanding, and having intention to help. Bach emphasizes how using religious practices of loving your neighbor and empathy make a huge difference in the hope that staff and patients alike have for treating an issue. So for my personal example, I have suffered with chronic pain going on for almost 2 years now. I've been to countless doctor's appointments, chiropractors, and physical therapists and medications without much luck. Until recently, I never felt like anyone was listening to me or understanding my pain. And at my most recent doctor's appointment, the doctor offered to pray for me, which was really unexpected, but it was kind of uplifting since it made me feel like he understood me on a deeper level than other people I'd talked to before. I think it has really motivated me while doing physical therapy. And on top of that, my physical therapist, she makes me explain everything about my problems to her and has a lot of empathy towards me. And so this article has allowed me to see this my own experience in a new light, since all I ever wanted was for someone to be empathetic to me. Thank you.